Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast. My name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Michael Gray.
Michael Gray, how are you today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. Did you guys get rain last night where you were at?
Got quite a bit, yes.
Yeah. It's a big thing for us here in Tucson because we're in monsoon season. So those of you who are listening or watching this podcast, well, what are you guys always talking about rain? We get excited about rain around here when it rains during the monsoon season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're happy. But so anyhow, this is episode 349. And today, Steve Lacey, by the way, is not here. He's, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not here. He's doing
stuff
and
things.
Doing stuff. But today we're going to talk about live encoders for a few minutes. And we're going to talk primarily about, what live encoders should your church get? Maybe you're thinking about getting a new live encoder, maybe something different. We'll talk a little bit briefly about the differences between software-based live encoders and hardware-based live encoders. And Michael, when you and I started doing this many, many moons ago, there weren't that many live encoders out there.
No, there were. We go back to the days when Adobe live encoder was the magic thing, and that probably dates us tremendously for anybody who
the
understands that history.
The Flash Media Live Encoder by Adobe, and I ran into somebody a few months ago that amazingly is still using it.
Wow. And, well, I'm sure it still works, but
there's no support or anything.
Because encoders are, once they're built, they're pretty simple. They just most of the time they work, and they almost all work the same, and they're just different ways to go about it.
Yeah, it really wasn't a bad encoder in its day. It had actually some cool features to it. It was free, and it's a software-based live encoder, as we'll get into here in a moment. But it's not really compatible with HLS streaming now, and so that's the problem that people run into. So that's it. And then TriCaster was another one, which is still on the scene, and they have multiple models now.
Oh yeah, I had one at one time.
Yeah, well, I was with you, and I think we had that wonderful experience where I think we had a lightning strike or something, and it blew out.
Kind of fried things just a little bit.
And we tried to
surge protector, but not a good enough surge protector.
Not good enough, and it blew out some kind of a module, and we were trying to get it replaced, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we don't make this anymore." And it wasn't that old. It was
well, that's technology. It moves fast, and that's part of what you got to think about when you're doing a live encoder is where is technology at, and are you buying something at the back end of a tech trend that in a year is going to be obsolete?
Yeah, absolutely. And the TriCaster at that point, I think it still does, runs off like a Microsoft Windows platform, I think.
I think that's right. I'm not sure if that's changed. It was back then. And another one of the, I know we also experienced another one of the absolute never, ever, ever do things. Somebody decided to update the version of Windows on that device just prior to service. And then nothing worked.
Yeah, exactly.
Never update Windows just before service.
Yeah. But another problem, and we're getting off track here, but my church, the one I used to work with, they use ProPresenter, and we had it on a Windows computer. And we would never touch the thing during the week, and then they'd boot up the computer, and Windows would decide, you're going to get this update whether you like it or not. And so they would force an update on you because apparently you kept putting it off for a while. And so it says, sorry, you're gonna have this update and you're gonna like it. And the problem was it took forever, and it would just if you're streaming with that computer or using it for some kind of presentation software, and the service is starting, you're sunk. So
I think I hear another podcast and blog coming on here. 10 things you should never do if you're going to stream your services.
That's a good idea. You should make that note. All right, so let's get back to the basics here. If you want to stream your church services, other than Facebook or something like that, or YouTube. Although you still can use a live encoder to do that. If you want to go to your website, you've got to have this thing called a live encoder. And so a live encoder, it's one simple job, as we mentioned earlier, is to take all that stuff you've got from your sources, your cameras, your audio, and all that, and it does its magic. It compresses it and makes it so that it's in a format that's easily shared online. So that's what encoder does. So there are two types of live encoders. I call it live encoders, but encoders, you have software, which we were rambling on about earlier, as well as hardware encoders. So let's just jump in real quick here with hardware encoders. These are physical pieces of equipment. They're a box. In fact, today, as Michael and I were just talking about, today there's a ton of them out there today, a lot of them out there today, and so I'm not going to be able to go over all of them. We put a few down here.
No, there's too many.
There's just too many. I put a few on our blog, which you can look at later. We got a blog.streamingchurch.tv, and you can go there later and look at that. But anyhow, so hardware, it's good because now these days they've come a long way. They're reliable. You don't have to require your computer to do the processing, which is what a software one does, which we'll get to in a moment. So some of them are very small. They're little boxes, so they don't take a whole lot of room.
That big.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like about a hardware encoder is it's not doing other tasks like a computer is.
Right.
It has a processor, but it's doing one thing, and that is encoding. It's not uploading and downloading stuff in the background. It's just streaming.
That's all it's doing. That's its job. And so that's the nice thing about it is, and the prices come down quite a bit. And they range from all sorts of prices. I think the most inexpensive one that I've seen is the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro, which I'm kind of changing my views on this. Because when this first came out, we were like, no, don't get it. But and it's not. We'll get into it in a moment. But it's not the most user friendly as far as setup.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Setup is not easy if you're not familiar with XML files and all that. Although we have done our best here at streamingchurch.tv, that's our company. We have done our best to try to simplify it and try to give you documentation, and we will actually try to help you set it up if you have it. So again, that's around $499, which is pretty reasonable. And then you have some that go up to $6,000-$7,000 or more.
Well, Teradek has one that is also right in that range, about $500.
That's right.
It's a nice little streaming device. I've only heard good things. I have not physically set one up with my hands myself, but I know Epiphan and Teradek setup process is a little bit more volunteer friendly and easier. So that's a big piece of the componentry as you're talking about a hardware device. How skilled or unskilled are your volunteers, and how hard is it going to be for them to make changes or make updates? That's a big deal because it really is based on personnel.
Yeah, it is. And you got to, the context for most volunteers is they're not working with it every day. So their hands aren't on it every day. It's once a week, and some of them volunteers rotate. So you might work with it once every couple of weeks while somebody else comes in and does it. And that's not easy, even if you're a sharp guy. I was fooling around with, we were doing something here, setting up some social streaming for somebody. And I won't get into a lot of detail, but I hadn't done it for a while. And I was like, okay, how do I do this again?
Because you don't do it every day.
You don't do it every day. And you're like, okay, do I do this? And then Steve Lacey's helping me, and he goes, I think you do this. And I go, well, wait a minute. No, that's not right. Do this. And so it was, so you're absolutely right, Michael. The context here is what you have to think about. And a lot of our churches, are mid-sized to small churches, and, volunteers are your lifeblood. Absolutely. And so you want to make it as easy as you can. Absolutely. So that's a big, so when you're choosing on the encoder, you want to look at the simplicity aspect of that. Yeah. So, all right. So where are we at here? So,
well, that's kind of hardware encoders. What's the deal with software encoders, Phil?
All right. Well, software is something, as it implies, you would download this on a computer. And so there are, we mentioned at the top of the show here, the old Flash Media Live encoder, which is obsolete. You could download it. But there's other ones out there, which we'll get into in a moment. So it's a software, you download it on your computer, and, you don't have to buy other hardware, although there is a little footnote to this. You actually do have to buy something else, but you have it on the computer. It's there. You boot it up. You've got, it's right there. And some of them are pretty easy to set up. Some of them a little more complicated, but there are some good ones out there. But the bottom line with, as you were talking earlier, the bottom line between software and hardware is the software is on your computer. Your computer might be doing something else besides streaming. That's where you get into trouble, because this thing called CPU, your processor, gets overworked. We just had a customer reach out to us today and said they were having a problem, and they're using vMix, which is, we like vMix, software-based live encoder.
Good software.
Yeah, it's good. But if I read the email right, they said the email, it was yellow, and vMix, when you start streaming, goes yellow to red. Red means life is good, even though you might think red means danger, but no, red means life is good with vMix. Yellow means, we have a problem.
Warning.
It could be, yellow means it could be, network issue. It could be CPU issue. Yeah. I'm thinking with these guys, it was a CPU issue, if I read their email right. So
what you don't realize on a PC or a Mac is that you have systems running in the background always. And so you're competing, your streaming software, encoder software is competing with everything else that's running in the background. At the same time, you have this much bandwidth, and if you're trying to send it to the website and a social media site, you need twice that much bandwidth. So most of the softwares will give you a color flash warning and it'll say, usually you'll be able to see CPU usage, and as well you'll be able to see bandwidth usage to know what's going wrong.
So the key to that, though, is paying attention to it. And
yes,
and that's where, again, you got to volunteers doing other things, or even if you're on staff and running it, you're doing other things probably during the service. You have it running, you might be sitting in front of it, but you're not always looking, so you've got to have enough processing power. And I think in the notes here, which we'll eventually post to the blog, I think I put in what you need.
You did
your operating systems,
and that's a conservative setup for a PC or Mac, and but it definitely would stream if you're not running a bunch of other stuff at the same time.
So I know people listening to this podcast are thinking, oh wow, this sounds really complicated. Well, we're giving you all the stuff behind the scenes here. So if you have a healthy computer and you're not doing anything else with it except streaming with a live encoder, software on it, you're probably going to be okay. If the computer's doing other things during the service, or even sometimes during the week, you may have some issues where malware gets picked up and some other things. So we're just telling you the cautions here on what to do. You've just got to be careful, but we have a lot of churches with us that stream with software-based live encoders.
I would say most are using software. I don't know, 10-20% using a hardware encoder.
Yeah, I think it's growing. I think the hardware is growing, as I said earlier. I think it's getting
more affordable. Is definitely
the big piece. So anyhow, moving on here, there is one little caveat when we say, hey, you can use, and by the way, there are free, one in particular, OBS. You just go to obsproject.com. That's a free live encoder that's software based. It's open source. They do a good job in updating it, and it's free again. And so, if you're on a budget and you don't have a lot going on, you have a healthy computer, you could use OBS. Now, the caveat with this thing is you must have a video capture device.
Yeah.
You can't plug your camera directly into the computer and stream unless, of course, you've got a webcam. The webcam, and then you can do that with a webcam. But if you're using any other kind of a camera, even a consumer grade camcorder, got to have what we call a video capture device that goes between the camera and the computer.
And there's lots of them.
Yeah, there are
lots of different ones. And as in most cases, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
You buy the cheapest one on Amazon, it's probably not going to last long. It's going to crash right during an important service. And so maybe don't get the most expensive one, but at least get middle of the road so that you have one that'll last you a while.
Yeah, there are some better ones out there. I mean, there were some really cheap ones that when we first started doing this that people were using, and but we recommend, and we've recommended it for years. Magwell has a video cap, but now it's not cheap. It's $299, but it works. You don't have to download drivers, and that's the other issue. Some of these you get a video capture device, and you got to download drivers, and did the drivers work? And oh no, it didn't. So back out, and it's just a bunch of stuff. So, and there's other ones. I think actually Blackmagic has a video capture device that somebody's using that likes, and so. But as you said, there's a lot of them out there. So again, if you're listening to this podcast, you're thinking, I might be better off going with hardware.
This is scary. I should just run away from this.
Yeah, well, we are always around. And that's one of our claims to fame around here is we will help you. And so it is, we understand that it's challenging. So, all right, so let's move on here. Software can be a good thing. Just have to watch out for a few things, CPU, bandwidth, those kind of things. You need a video capture device. When you get to our blog eventually, blog.streamingchurch.tv, there's a lot of stuff on that blog because we do more than just tech stuff around here. We help churches and all sorts of things. But there are recommended computer specs you should have, if you're going to run software encoders on your computer. So with that in mind, shall we talk about what we like as far as encoders?
Well, yeah, you mentioned software. I have a lot of people really kind of balking at using OBS. Oh, it can't be good because it's free. It's like it's the most used software on the planet because every gamer in the world that streams their content is using OBS. It works. They keep it up to date. Their support. I mean, it's a really robust, free software that'll do everything that most people need when it comes to streaming your content.
Yeah. So definitely look that up and think about it if you're looking at something. obsproject.com. So don't poo-poo it because it's free. The other one that we like is vMix, VMIX, V as in victory, MIX.com, vmix.com. These guys are based out of Australia. We actually interviewed them years ago on our podcast here. They actually they made it for their own church, if I remember correctly, and then they brought it out there. vMix is a good one. We like it. There is a 60-day free trial, and then after 60 days kicks in, you can still use it. It just doesn't have as many features. And I have a vMix that I never paid for that I use it to test things with and stream with. If you want to buy one version of it, it's $60 one-time fee.
Not bad at all. Yeah. It's not monthly. That's $60 one shot, one time.
And then there's other packages for it if you want to do more with it.
Right.
The downside to vMix would be it's not, you can't run it on Linux. You can't run it on any kind of an Apple computer.
That's right.
It's just Windows only. Windows only. So that's the downside to it. But it's really, I think it's pretty decent. Like I said, I would recommend it as far as software goes. And then there's Wirecast, which has been out for a long time. And Wirecast has different versions. I think they have at least two. One of them is real expensive, and you could use it, I guess, if you're going to cover sporting events or something. And it's the deluxe package. But then there's the other package, which again, I don't even remember the price. I probably should have looked it up because it's gone up over the years.
Yeah. Well, that's easy to find. You can go to their website and see their pricing. And
it's made by Telestream. So you can either go to telestream.com or you can go to just Google Wirecast. Wirecast is good. Nothing wrong with Wirecast.
Not at all.
Again, software-based live encoder, has some good products to it, but it's not inexpensive. But it will work fine on your machines. And I guess there's other ones.
Sure.
I can't remember. The list could go on for pages.
Yeah, there's lots of software encoders.
Yeah. There's is it BidBlaster? BidBlaster is one of them, I think.
ManyVid.
CamStreamer's software, right? We've had experience with almost all of them.
Yeah, ManyCam. That's another one I like. Real simple.
Yeah, you like.
And I used it because I grabbed it once just to see because it's Mac compatible. I'm a Mac person.
Yeah, right.
And so I tested it out for a while and works pretty good. It's like any encoder. You got to find where the settings are, but once you get into the settings, they're very similar in the data that you're going to enter to get going and streaming.
Yeah. And there's lots of help videos out there. I mean, either from the company itself that you're buying it from, or you can just go to YouTube and there's somebody out there that's made a video on how to do that,
including us.
Yeah, we have too. Yeah,
lots of help videos.
Yeah, hardware encoders. If we can move on here a little bit, we have a good relationship with a company called Epiphan, and Epiphan is based out of Toronto, although they have offices, I think, in California. Epiphan used to make the Webcaster. Well, they used to sell the Webcaster. The Webcaster is something that we pushed for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And then they stopped making it conveniently around March of 2020. Does that ring a bell? March 2020. Yeah, right during COVID, all of a sudden there were no more Webcasters available.
Yeah,
and everybody was, and it was a nice little box. It's a very little box. It was very inexpensive, about $300, and it worked. And we still have customers that use it. We have an API for it, and we have customers that use it, but they don't make it anymore. But Epiphan has other products besides the Webcaster, Pearl Nano, Streamer, Recorder. They have all sorts of different ones. Not the cheapest, but pretty good stuff and good support. They do have good support, which is important. Yeah. So there you go. And again, this is hardware. The other one is, go ahead.
I was just going to say the Teradek model I was thinking of is their Vidiu, VIDIU-X, which is about $599.
There you go.
And so it again is a small box about that big. That plugs in, and then you connect it via screen.
Don't need a video capture device or anything like that.
And so it's a nice. They have some really crazy high-end, cool, super crazy cool products.
They have a lot.
This is also a really good, just reliable, turn it on and it works kind of device.
And Teradek's been around for a long time.
Yes.
And so I can't vouch for their customer support like I can Epiphan, but they've been around for a while. And I'm sure that you can probably get help, or we can help you as well. And then here, much to your chagrin, I listed Blackmagic Design ATEM Mini Pro. Now I put this on here because the price, and then like I said, we've had some experience with it. The hardest part of it is just setting it up for people, because you have to use an XML file, and it's a little complicated to set up depending on your experience. And we've tried, as I said at the beginning of the Church Solutions podcast, we've tried to make it as easy as possible. We've got documentation,
videos,
documentation. We have a church that we know very well that we both used to work at that uses one. And so I think it has its merits. I think it has its merits. And there's other ones, we were talking about what was it? The TriCaster has different models out there. We're a
TriCaster still making great encoders.
Yeah. We're a preset destination on TriCaster. We're also a preset on vMix and Wirecast.
Yeah. And we're not disparaging anyone. The key for us is we're just saying, when you're setting these up, is it going to be volunteer friendly? And we really lean in that direction, because more churches than not have a volunteer pushing the buttons in the back, and they need to understand how your encoder works. And so the easier it is to learn and to use, the better you're going to have in your streaming experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that really is the bottom line. Really look at that. And you look, we're available. Occasionally I will get a customer that we've been doing this for, as I've said, a long time, and occasionally we'll get a customer that says, hey, I'm looking at getting a different encoder. What do you think about this? We love that. We love it when people talk to us about it. What happens a lot of times is somebody gets something and they can't make it work, and then they call us. And it's like, okay, let's see where we're at on this. And sometimes it's a little complicated, sometimes it's not, but it would be good to really check out. And again, there's just so much out there, and it's good and it's bad. It's good because you have lots of choices now. It's not like it was 14, 15 years ago. Lots of choices now. The downside is lots of choices now. So you have to be able to look and take your time and look at the specs and decide, is this right for my church? Is it right for my, will it do the things we want to do? Maybe even some future plans. Will it do things in the future? And as you've reiterated, Michael, will it work well with volunteers? Because that's important. Good stuff. So,
yeah, right. I just wished every church, as you were saying, as they were considering changing encoders, would just come to us with a list of, here's what we need it to do. We could save you a lot of time and extra money by at least giving you a list of the ones that would do what you need. And just take some of that grief and worry and stress off your team.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. And we'd be happy to do that for anybody here. And even if you're not a customer of ours, we'd be sure.
We're happy to help. We're in it for helping ministries, and not all of them are customers. We're just happy to help.
We are. That's what we do. All right. So I think we're pretty much done on this. And again, this is incomplete, so feel free to reach out to us. Support at streamingchurch.tv. We do streaming. We do mobile apps. We do other things as well, which is why this podcast sometimes has lots of different topics and variety. It's not always tech related. So we have a lot of things. Please subscribe to our podcast. It's Church Solutions Podcast. You can subscribe to it anywhere you get your podcast, and give us a rating. We'd love to get your rating. That would be good for us. And we'd love to get feedback from you on what you think about the podcast and how we can improve. That's the way we are with everything that we're doing. So please reach out to us and let us know. All right, Michael, I think we're done here.
All right. My pleasure as always.
All right, sir. And on behalf of Steve Lacey, who's not here today, I'm Phil Thompson. Thank you for listening or watching the Church Solutions Podcast this episode. We'll do another episode next time. Please take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great day.